a deeper look at that in just a moment. But first, we have some good news in the forecast as we track a cold front.
You know, it felt really good out there today.
Still does.
Yeah, and it's still warm, but that humidity is less, and it feels so much better out there. So let's get over to your local weather expert, Chief Meteorologist Chris Franklin, for the latest. Chris, you are a popular man today.
I would hope so, because, yeah, it has actually been pleasant outside for early September. And we talked about the fact that it wasn't really a cold front with regards to our temperatures, but we have stayed in the mid 80s all day, and the average high for this time of year is 89. So it is a little bit cooler, and it just feels so much nicer with that dry air, clear skies. It's also just prettier out. Now, there are no clouds on visible satellite other than a little bit of cloud cover at times down near the coast, but we have been under clear skies since yesterday, and we're looking at another day of beautiful weather for tomorrow. As I mentioned, very few places got into the upper 80s, and even 87 degrees is more mid 80s in my opinion. 85 right now at Kenner. Again, average for this time of year is 89, and we have been staying below that. And dew points 50s, only around 60 degrees is a very pleasant feel to the air. And this dry air is going to hang around for most of the day Saturday. By Saturday night and by Sunday, the muggies will start to return. But with the dry air and clear skies overnight, metro area temperatures lower 70s. Outside of the city on the South Shore, mid to upper 60s, and north of the lake, temperatures will be falling overnight and waking up tomorrow morning into the low 60s. So another pleasantly cool morning for Saturday. By Sunday, the muggies start to return, and today is the climatological peak of hurricane season. We are watching one tropical wave, which just does not look like it is going to threaten us at all, but we'll kind of take a look at the tropics as a whole in just a few minutes.
All right, thanks very much. As long as it doesn't look like it's going to
No threats to us, no.
All right, Chris, thank you. The people of St. Charles Parish were hit so hard by Hurricane Ida. Many are now homeless and in need of just basic necessities.
Meg Ferris spent the day in Luling as the community came out to accept an overwhelming donation from people who live in San Diego. She's joining us live in Luling tonight with the latest on that. Meg, this sounds incredible.
It truly, truly was, Katie. So the parishioners here at the Holy Family Catholic Church in Luling had a massive volunteer effort today. Take a look at what we shot just a short while ago. About 150 volunteers came out to unload an 18-wheeler filled to the brim with generators, camping stoves, portable AC units, food, water, cleaning supplies, even wheelbarrows. And the truck drove overnight from San Diego. And it all began when a young California mother started a campaign to help people here in St. Charles Parish hit hard by Ida. Now, she asked her brother-in-law, who's a priest in Mandeville, where the greatest need was. And then former Charger quarterback Philip Rivers even got involved. And that mom was inspired by a news report.
The kids and I were driving to school last Tuesday, so it hasn't been very long, and we were listening to the news about the hurricane, and we heard that it was 115 degrees. And people did not have clean water to drink. And it would be 6 weeks maybe until they did. And I just couldn't believe it. And I felt like God said, if not you, who? If not now, when?
And that second truck arrives on Monday, and the whole operation will happen again right here in this parking lot. Now, on a completely different story, Archbishop Gregory Amen did come to this volunteer effort, and he prayed with a lot of the volunteers, and he wanted to see the operation. But on a separate story we've been covering about the living conditions in the senior living homes, senior apartments in the aftermath of Ida. We had a chance to ask him if he wanted to comment, since the Archdiocese does operate several of those homes, and he said he did not want to comment at this time. Reporting live from Luling, Meg Ferris, Eyewitness News. Back to you.
All right, Meg, thank you. Several families in Plaquemines Parish were trapped for days after Hurricane Ida made landfall there.
Yeah, Lake Hermitage is just outside of the levee protection system. Water that had surrounded the community for several days has finally gone down. And Candace Charles is joining us live from the neighborhood tonight. Candace, that's the key to starting to recover. Get that water out of there.
Yes, for sure. I mean, there's still some puddles around, but not as much water as these folks had here. 7 days. That's how long some of these families were waiting here in Lake Hermitage for assistance after water just surrounded this entire community. Take a look at the footage, it's pretty amazing. This is the Vincent's front yard the day Hurricane Ida hit. Tracy Vincent tells me she and her husband watched from the window as the water began to rise up to 10 feet. That's where they sat for the next 3 days, unable to leave their home until the water receded. For the next few days, their 77-year-old next door neighbor, and a few others who did not evacuate waited until the sheriff's department came to bring them food, water, and supplies.
We essentially ended up as an island right here, so water on this side and water on this side by Myrtle Grove, and it was still, up until a few days ago, about 5 feet.
You pay a price to live in God's country, and this is the price you pay, I guess.
Now that's Henry there. He did evacuate before Hurricane Ida hit, but he came on back and now he has so much work to do and with no water and supplies at all, as well as no power. Now the community here is trying to rebuild, but it's really difficult to do with no water or power. Coming up at 5, hear how this family got through this whole ordeal, why they decided to stay. For now in Lake Hermitage, I'm Candace Charles, Eyewitness News.
All right, Candace, thank you so much. In Jefferson Parish, Grand Isle was hit so hard by Hurricane Ida. I guess we just keep saying that, but so many areas were just pummeled with every single building on Grand Isle damaged, every one of them.
Every single one, and Maria Aguilera has been there today as neighbors are starting the hard work to recover. Maria?
Yeah, here in Grand Isle, residents are just beginning their road to recovery, and it is a long one. Like you mentioned, pretty much all the homes here suffered some sort of damage. Some homes are uninhabitable, and it is going to be a long road to recovery. Most residents started returning in today to assess the damage and start working on their homes. And now there still is no power here. That means no electricity, no water, and resources are limited. So officials are saying if you're traveling to this area, you are coming down at your own risk. Now, they did meet yesterday. That was town officials and emergency operation leaders to discuss the progress of restoration efforts. Crews moved over 150 loads of sand, and they're still working to clear side streets on the west end of the island that was hit pretty badly. Now, anyone arriving today is urged to use extreme caution navigating to their properties. There are still a lot of damage, a lot of debris and sand that can potentially be hazardous. Now, on the west end, you can really only travel with a truck or SUV that has four-wheel drive capabilities, and military crews are here working every day to get debris and sand cleared off the roads. Now, as far as cleaning, they've got several dumpsters across the island that are only for household items, and debris like trees and branches are being placed on the sides of the road. Now, homeowners we've spoken to here say that it's going to take some time, but they will rebuild.
We knew it was always a possibility. You know, of course, you always cross your fingers and, you know, hope it doesn't get you, but it's going to get somebody. So I guess it was just our turn.
Now, really, the videos and photos that we show you, even what you see here, does not do it justice to really all the damage that we've seen, all the sand and all the people really working to recover as much as they can from their homes. And coming up later, we're going to hear from these homeowners who say they are devastated but hopeful about the rebuilding process. For now, in Grand Isle, Maria Aguilera, Eyewitness News.
Yeah, they're a hardy bunch down there. We know they'll rebuild. Thank you very much, Maria. More details today about what could have been a disastrous loss of power to New Orleans' sewer system.
Yeah, it could have been really bad, and the New Orleans Sewerage and Water Board relies completely on Entergy power to pump waste out of people's homes and businesses, and this is why it could have been bad. That power out for days. The sewer treatment plant in the lower Ninth Ward also lost Entergy power and all backup generator power. Sewerage and Water Board Executive Director Ghassan Korban said he had to divert raw sewage into the Mississippi River.
Because the alternative is sewer backing up into people's homes, which obviously creates, you know, public health related issues, and obviously no one wants sewage in their home. So it was a very tough decision, but given the two options, I had to do the diversion and let the sewage flow into the Mississippi.
Imagine sewage in your home backed up for days without power. Well, coming up at 5, David Hammer from our Down the Drain team is talking with Korban about how the Sewerage and Water Board performed in Hurricane Ida.
All right, we will be right back with more coverage. Well, while New Orleans is getting back to some degree of normalcy, many in the Bayou region very much struggling.
Yeah, doing what they can. Small churches and parish leaders are pulling together whatever supplies they can get their hands on to keep the community afloat. And Allison Basil is live down in the Bayou parishes where giveaways have been going on all day long. Allison, I know there was a concern that those people would be forgotten.
In the middle of all the destruction in Lafourche Parish, First Baptist Church Golden Meadow created a one-stop shop drive-through for residents to get supplies, and it's become a beacon of hope for so many. Most homes in Lafourche have no lights, no air conditioning, but the thing residents do have, each other.
Your Harold? Yes. Nice stuff. All right, good. Thank you.
Last week, First Baptist Church Golden Meadow opened a makeshift shop. People pull up, tell volunteers what they need, and the shopping begins. No list is hard to check off.
One person asked, well, I need something, but y'all probably won't have that. I said, well, what that is? She said, I need some birdseed for my bird. We have that.
Pastor Matthew Schwest says after the storm, donations poured in from churches and groups across the country.
As fast as we're giving it out, it's filling up from the back door.
The community is going on almost 2 weeks without power.
These are coming in handy with all the debris we have to pick up.
So this boost is everything.
We're a small community and everybody helps each other, you know, and that's always been the same when we get storms and stuff like this. Everybody steps up.
The stress of cleaning up, plus the endless heat, weighs heavily on everyone.
This has been the worst storm since I've been on this earth. I'm 29 years old and it's the worst.
Kelsey Danos is trying to stay strong for her 3 kids, including little Charlie.
All our friends are just scattered everywhere. And our family, everybody's just everywhere right now. And it's just the hardest thing. And I'm just ready for it to be back to normal. This isn't how we want to live.
The damage you'll find driving across the parish is unimaginable.
So many homes, so many places I grew up seeing gone. And it's gut-wrenching.
Even the sanctuary at Golden Meadows and Schwest's own home need repair. Still, every day he puts his heart into helping keep the drive-through shop moving along. A neighborly love very unique to Louisiana.
Good, thank y'all so much.
All right, have a good day.
We're resilient. We're going to come back. We will do what it takes to rebuild.
And the Cajun Navy is also on site giving out meals to anyone passing by. The pastor tells me that the donation needs change daily, so reach out to the church if you're interested in giving, and they'll let you know what they need. Live in Lafourche, Allison Basil, Eyewitness News.
Look for the helpers. We've got a lot of them here. Beautiful day today. At least it was a little less humid and temperatures really weren't as bad. No heat index to deal with. And for the most part, we stayed in the mid, some upper 80s. Nobody getting into the 90s. And the dew point of 55, humidity is only 36%. So a good feel to the air. Winds out of the north-northeast at 10 miles an hour. Look at our morning lows. We dropped to 59 degrees this morning at Bogalusa, low 60s across the North Shore. Stayed a little milder in the city, 75 at Kenner, but you get away from the city. Belle Chase was 70. Homa was down to 75 at Belle Chase and 70 at Homa. I think that's what it said. I don't remember. We have under sunny skies all day today. The only cloud cover has been down along the coast and farther offshore. And we're going to get one more very pretty day before we knew the changes are coming back. Current temperatures are in the mid and upper 80s, but as I said, a regular high or average high of 89 degrees. This is a little bit cooler, and winds are still generally out of the north, but they are starting to take on a little bit more of an easterly component to that wind. By tomorrow, that wind will change out of the east, and on Sunday, it'll be a southeasterly wind, so the moisture starts surging back in. But dew points 50s, low 60s. Hang on to that as long as we can, and that will certainly be the case through the day tomorrow. And dew points all day today, even during the overnight hours, stayed low. And with that dry air in place and clear skies, it will be getting cool again overnight. And by wake-up time tomorrow morning, we're expecting similar temperatures, probably a few spots in the upper 50s, low 60s in the North Shore, mid 60s south of the city, and then in the metro area, probably staying in the lower 70s. Our precision cast model showing that frontal boundary is down to our south, but the moisture starts starts returning overnight Saturday and into Sunday. We'll also be watching a surge of tropical moisture. And yes, the models are indicating a potential tropical system that we may see in the western Gulf, but we don't look to have any impacts from that system other than a surge of tropical moisture. We'll detail that in just a second. Less humid through tomorrow. Scattered storms are on the way Sunday, and that wave is now being given a little bit better chance of developing, but still not really concerned about it. Here's what's going on. We have this upper trough that is keeping us into the dry air mass. That upper trough actually kind of digs all the way down to the south and into the western Gulf of Mexico. You see this upper low right here. What's going to happen is as that upper low kind of draws this tropical wave northward, it should keep it fairly weak and unorganized. There may be a brief window that we could see some organization to that low, and that's why the Hurricane Center is now giving it a 70% chance of developing. What would develop? Let's take a look at the models. The GFS has really nothing going on through tomorrow as that little wave moves across the Yucatan. By late Saturday into Sunday, the GF starts to develop something, but notice kind of moves it straight into Mexico. The Euro, very similar. Nothing going on through tonight or into tomorrow. Chance of development really through tomorrow is slim to none. Once it's in the Bay of Campeche, we start to see some organization, but again, basically eastern Mexico, the western coast of the Bay of Campeche or Gulf of Mexico, or maybe South Texas, but it does not look like it'll be coming our way. What we're expecting to see from that is a surge of tropical moisture. And obviously, most of the moisture is going to be off to our west. That's where we're expecting some of the greatest rainfall totals once this event is done. And we could see 7 or more inches of rain across parts of Texas and maybe even southwestern Louisiana. As far as we are concerned, about 1 inch to 2 inches across southeast Louisiana through Monday and Tuesday, because both of those days we're looking at it being fairly wet around the area. So very nice tomorrow, probably increasing clouds later in the day, some scattered storms on Sunday, wet and cloudy for both Monday and Tuesday, and we return to more of the typical pop-up showers and thunderstorms, but notice high temperatures into the mid and upper 80s.
Louisiana State Police will implement reforms after months of controversy and investigations into excessive force allegations and withholding information allegations by troopers.
And Mike McDaniel is joining us live outside the State Police headquarters in Baton Rouge, where the announcements were made today. Mike?
Hey there, yeah, State Police has been heavily criticized when it comes to how they handle some cases, specifically when it involves people of color. Well, today, Colonel Lamar Davis made some changes and announced those changes, which he hopes will build better transparency and trust with the community. Now, part of these changes moving forward will be a ban on chokeholds, as well as a ban on impact weapons to the neck and head areas on suspects. There will also be enhanced accountability for body-worn cameras and a mandated review of footage on a quarterly basis. Now, this all comes after body cam video of that deadly arrest of Ronald Green in Monroe back in 2019 following a car chase. The video was only recently released, however, showing troopers stunning, punching, and dragging Green. Colonel Davis says for some reason that video was never submitted into evidence, and an internal investigation showed no evidence of that video being intentionally left out. Now, because of that, an Associated Press investigation revealed other instances of excessive force, body cameras turned off, and false information in reports. Colonel Davis says accountability will be top to bottom.
When any incident involves our own personnel, there may or may not be administrative or criminal violations related to that incident. But I need everyone to understand, regardless of that, you have my commitment that I am going to do everything possible to hold them accountable for their actions and for their behavior.
And the ACLU of Louisiana, just talked to them. They said they are requesting the U.S. Department of Justice launch a broader investigation into LSP regarding historical wrongs. Now, the organization says they support the changes from LSP, but you can't move forward without righting the wrongs of the past. Live from State Police Headquarters in Baton Rouge, Mike McDaniel, Eyewitness News.
Mike, before you leave, we just had some audio issues earlier. It's a ban on chokehold, and what was the other major thing?
So there's a ban on chokeholds as well as a ban on impact weapons to the head and neck when arresting suspects.
Okay. Mike, thank you very much for that update. Well, tomorrow marks 20 years since the 9/11 terror attacks.
It's hard to believe it's been that long. Events to remember the nearly 3,000 lives lost began today in Washington, D.C. and, of course, New York City. Michael George reports from Ground Zero.
On the eve of the 20th anniversary of the 9/11 attacks, people are coming to where the Twin Towers once stood, including firefighter Nate Smith from Cedar Rapids, Iowa. He brought his family to pay their respects.
Just to kind of pay tribute to fallen brothers and sisters. It's pretty emotional.
At the New York Stock Exchange, traders held a moment of silence to mark the day. On 9/11, St. Nicholas Church was destroyed when the towers came down. It's taken 20 years to rebuild, but today, finally, the cross was placed back on top. Near the nation's capital, bells rang 3 times, one for each location planes hit on September 11th. FBI Director Christopher Wray says the agency lives every day as if it's September 10th.
Every day we wake up asking ourselves, what do we need to do to keep people safe today and tomorrow and the day after?
Tomorrow, ceremonies will mark the anniversary at the Pentagon, in Shanksville, Pennsylvania, and New York City. The Director of Homeland Security met with New York officials today, guaranteeing the safety of residents and visitors.
We have a very resilient and strong counterterrorism overlay that is thousands of uniformed and civilian members overlaid with bomb detection, overlaid with long guns, as the governor said, and that should reassure people, not alarm people.
The Department of Homeland Security says there are no credible threats from any terrorist groups or individuals. Michael George, CBS News, New York.
The latest coronavirus numbers show fewer COVID patients in Louisiana hospitals today than yesterday. About 2,000 new cases were reported in the last 24 hours, along with 64 new deaths.
Yesterday, President Biden announced tough new measures in the fight against COVID-19. Companies with more than 100 employees will be required to ensure workers are vaccinated or tested weekly. and businesses that do not comply could face a $14,000 fine per violation. The measures are already drawing political fire, with some Republican governors and lawmakers calling the president's move unconstitutional. In fact, the Republican National Committee says it will file suit. And we'll be right back.
From WWL-TV, this is continuing coverage of the Hurricane Ida aftermath.
Good afternoon, and thank you for staying with us for our special coverage of the recovery from Hurricane Ida. I'm Karen Swenson.
And I'm Katie Moore. Let's take a look at your headlines real quick. Governor John Bel Edwards and U.S. Senator Bill Cassidy are in Terrebonne this afternoon. They're going to meet with the Unified Command Group over the response to the Ida's recovery.
Also, public transportation in New Orleans will now run until midnight. The curfew for the East Bank of Plaquemines Parish has been lifted. And St. John Parish has updated its boil water advisory, but basically they're just saying it's still in place while the water is being tested. Jefferson Parish schools will reopen schools on a tiered schedule based on when buildings are deemed safe. And we'll take a deeper look at that in a moment. But first, good news in the weather department. The cold front.
Yay! It's warm, but like in the shade. Did you notice that? That breeze? It was amazing out there. So great. And we want to get over to your local weather expert, Chief Meteorologist Chris Franklin, to find out how long it's going to last.
Not unfortunately too much longer, but yeah, when the humidity is low, there's a big difference between the bright sunshine and stepping into the shade. You're able to cool off a bit. And it really wasn't bad temperature-wise. Average high this time of year is 89. We stayed mostly in the mid-80s across the area. Not a cloud in sight other than a few clouds passing right near the coast, but we have been under sunny skies and very pleasant conditions. 87, one of our warmer spots in Slidell, 85 degrees Belle Chase, 86 right now, Raceland, 85 at the airport, and dew points 50s and right around 60 degrees. So this good feel air hangs around overnight tonight, and that with clear skies will allow us to get pretty cool. Now the dry air is in place, but that's not going to last too much longer. Again, we are still very much in the summer, and early September this was a rare cold front, so we knew it wasn't going to last for very long. This was not going to be an extended period of more fall-like temperatures. Overnight tonight, though, we will be getting cool again, low 70s in the city. Outside of the city, some upper mid-60s, and then on the North Shore we'll be falling into the low 60s by wake-up time tomorrow morning. Different story by wake-up time on Sunday morning. The muggies will start to return, as will our rain chances. Plus, we're watching a tropical wave, but doesn't look like anything that will necessarily directly impact us. May get some rain from it. We'll talk more about that in just a few minutes.
All right, Chris, thank you. Entergy says it's restored power to 98% of New Orleans and is working to restore power across Jefferson Parish.
It can't come soon enough for more than 16,000 customers who are still in the dark in JP. However, that number does include the lower Jefferson area, which really should not expect power until the end of the month because of the extent of the damage. CLECO has about 750 outages it's working to restore on the North Shore. The Washington St. Tammany Electric Co-op is reporting around 700 outages as well across all of its customers in Washington, St. Tammany, and Tangipahoa.
And as we mentioned, Jefferson Parish schools will reopen on a tiered schedule based on when each school building is deemed safe for students and employees. So it's broken into 3 tiers. Tier 1 includes the 11 schools on your screen. We're going through them quickly, but don't worry if you can't read them this quickly. The list is on our website. Teachers and staff are scheduled to return in Tier 1 on September 16th, while students will come back on the 20th. Tier 2 includes these 20 schools. Again, the list is on our website, wwltv.com. Teachers and staff in Tier 2 will come back on September 22nd. Students will return on the 24th. And Tier 3 is the largest group with 41 of the most damaged schools. Teachers and staff are set to come back on September 29th, students on October 1st. But schools in Grand Isle and Lafitte, they're not even part of these tiers because of the extensive damage in those parishes. So the district says it'll communicate, or in those areas, the district says it'll communicate with those employees and families directly. And we are getting updates on when other school districts plan to reopen too.
Yeah, the St. Tammany Parish Public Schools are going to reopen on Monday. Officials say they've evaluated every school campus and determined that they can all safely reopen. If you cannot return on Monday, though, you should get in touch with your school's principal. St. James schools will remain closed through next Friday, September 17th. Officials say some schools did get substantial damage from Ida, and plans are being made to repair the building so students can get back to in-person learning. And Delgado is going to remain closed until September 20th. Online learning and remote work will happen September 20th through October 1st.
All right, contractors in Southeast Louisiana are backed up with thousands of homes needing repairs.
Yeah, but even if you're desperate, you should still be careful to avoid construction scams. Carmen Child tells us how you can avoid becoming a victim.
It may be difficult finding that reliable and trustworthy help, but there are a few steps you can follow to make the recovery process a little easier for you and your family. Before doing a Google search, asking friends or family first is your best bet since it is coming as a recommendation. When you do find your contractor, get at least 3 bids for the work you want done. This ensures you're getting the proper repairs and it gives you an idea of how much it will cost. But also know when to spot a contractor who is going door to door giving you an offer too good to be true. Cynthia Albert with the Better Business Bureau calling the scammers storm chasers.
They'll go from disaster to disaster, conning people. And that's what we really have to be very careful of by checking these people out.
The Better Business Bureau also warning about a hurricane relief scam where you get a call, email, or text from someone claiming to be with Fema or a government agency. The scammer will say you are approved for a $15,000 grant, but ask you to purchase a $250 Walmart cash card to process your claim, which raises a red flag. Your best bet, block the number and report it.
Get a contract, no matter what they say, and do not turn over all your insurance money, because if you do, then you really have no recourse. You should not give them more than 10% up front.
If you need help applying for FEMA assistance or with any other funding, you can text the word HELP to 504-529-4444, and we will reply with more information. Reporting in Kenner, Carmen Chow, Eyewitness News.
Good advice in there, thank you. If your home sustained significant damage from Ida, there is an important deadline to keep in mind. This Sunday, September 12th, is the deadline to apply for FEMA's Expedited assistance. This money is for people who lost power for an extended time, which is pretty much our entire region. The assistance is also for people with other immediate damage or needs. You can be reimbursed up to $800 for a generator and up to $250 for a chainsaw as well.
Yeah, and there's also a second deadline that you want to remember in all this. It's for a separate kind of assistance for more long-term things like home damage that's not covered by your insurance. The deadline to apply for that kind of FEMA help is October 28th, so you still have a little bit of time. Eyewitness News wants to help clear up any questions that you might have about applying for FEMA assistance. We know there are many of them out there, so just text the word HELP to 504-529-4444. We'll respond with a link to the latest information.
All right, and we'll continue with our Ida recovery coverage in just a moment.
I'll be right back.
Well, if you're looking for something to do this weekend, Tipitina's is hosting 2 nights of free shows.
Yeah, they're hoping to raise money for people affected by Hurricane Ida. Musician Billy Ayuso joined Eyewitness Morning News to talk about the shows. I hope I didn't.
This is literally the only gig I have in the books right now, which is really rare for this time of the year. So we're all just trying to get by and find work where we can. And, You know, I was lucky in my house. We only had very minor damage. We stayed through the storm and was able to keep the water from coming in the back of the house. And so I was blessed, but there's a lot of people out there struggling. So we're just trying to give them a little reprieve and a little fun, take a few hours and come out to Tips and hang with us.
Ayuso, the shows are tonight and tomorrow night at 9. Doors are going to open at 8 p.m. It is free, no tickets required, but they are asking those who attend to donate to Second Harvest Food Bank or the New Orleans Musicians Clinic.
All right, and as things slowly get back to normal here in New Orleans, people are now turning their attention to helping those in the hardest hit areas.
Yeah, Courtyard Brewery has already sent truckloads of supplies to Terrebonne Parish, and as Duke Carter shows us, with the help of the community, more help is on the way.
The owner of a Courtyard Brewery, Scott Wood, wanted to open his doors to make sure people could donate as many supplies as possible. And so here we are, where people have donated extension cords, hammers, nails, gloves, bleach, laundry detergent, batteries, anything possible, even grills and a generator, gasoline as well. And so those supplies are going to be heading down to hard-hit areas like Terrebonne Parish, specifically Pointe-aux-Chenes, and some other localities down there to make sure people get the supplies that they need. And so Wood reached out to a friend who was housing supplies in their apartment and opened up his spot so that more people would be able to donate. And more people have been donating. According to volunteers so far, they've sent about 3 trucks down to Terrebonne Parish to make sure folks down there can get the supplies that they need. And many supplies include diapers, off spray, gas, and water. Well, Scott Wood, who has opened his doors, is pleased to help, and people who have been donating are just pleased to help as well.
People really need some stuff right now. I had a little extra, so I just wanted to help out.
I think we were invited in, or we're hoping to make some contacts in there, and just bring them as much supplies and so forth that they need.
It's been amazing because my skill set is in distribution and warehousing, you know, from the beer side of things. But these people are incredible.
Again, these are some of the supplies that have been donated from people willing to help out other communities that have been impacted by Hurricane Ida. And the owner here at Courtyard Brewery, Scott Wood, says he plans to continue to donate those who've been greatly impacted by Ida until those supplies run out. By now, though, reporting Duke Carter, Eyewitness News.
So much generosity, and there's another way you can help Ida victims. WWL-TV is partnering with the United Way of Southeast Louisiana to deliver essential supplies. If you'd like to donate, text the word GIVE to 504-529-4444. You can also find details on donation drop-off locations, distribution spots, and more by scanning the QR code with your smartphone camera. We've also posted a link on our website at WWLTV.com.
And we're going to be back with much more Hurricane Ida recovery coverage in just a moment.
Last year, Oxnard Health opened a connectivity center in New Orleans East. It's meant to help people who don't have internet at home access telehealth services, which are generally more affordable than in-person visits.
Now the company's trying to make sure that people know about it since Ida knocked out the internet for a lot of people. And a representative from Oxnard joined us on our morning show to explain how that connectivity center works.
You come in, there's an iPad set up in a room. It allows you, again, to connect virtually with the provider for all of your healthcare needs. So we have behavioral health services. It could be your primary care provider, and could be, if you're an Oxnard patient, your specialty provider. It's through an iPad. You are seeing your provider face-to-face directly, so it's a great opportunity to continue your health care and getting your medications refilled, really whatever you need.
Beautiful day today. We'll take what we can get at this point, and it was a lot less humid and actually a little cooler than normal. Wouldn't call it cool, but below normal temperatures. Average high this time of year is 89. We're still at 85 degrees, and really no one got into the upper 80s and no 90s. 55-degree dew point, so humidity is a pleasant 36%. We know it's not going to last too much longer, so enjoy it while you can. And because of that dry air and clear skies, our morning lows were on the cool side. Bogalusa dropped down to 59 degrees, low 60s across the North Shore. Belle Chase was 67 degrees, 70 at Homa. A little milder in the city, 75 was about as low as we could get at Kenner. But clear skies once again, and that low humidity still with us. We are expecting another cool morning tomorrow morning. We're in the 80s outside at the moment, and again, 87 about as warm as anyone got today, so not really upper 80s, and no 90s today. We'll take that, and we are still in the summer. Winds out of the north, but notice there are starting to see a little bit of an easterly component to that wind. Over time, by tomorrow, that is going to change to a easterly wind, and then by Sunday, a southeasterly wind bringing back the Gulf moisture. And so these dew points in the 50s and low 60s will be on the rise, unfortunately. But we're going to hang on to the drier air long enough to see another comfortable morning, 60s and low 70s, as we get the day started on Saturday. But those dew points will be on the rise late Saturday and into Sunday. The dew points coming back into the upper 60s, low 70s, and will continue to rise, although kind of looking ahead, it doesn't look as though we're really tapping into any kind of deep tropical moisture in terms of the low-level moisture where these dew points will be getting into the mid or upper 70s. So low 70s, bearable, not pleasant, but bearable considering we are still in the summer. And that moisture is going to be coming in from the south, bringing with it some clouds. Now, this model has a few more clouds during the day on Saturday, and that may be the case, but certainly overnight and into Sunday, as well as some rainfall. Now, most of the rain looking ahead should be off to our west, as we could see a developing tropical system. We'll be watching that wave closely, but right now it does not look like it would be a direct impact to us. More of the moisture kind of associated with the overall wave moving northward would impact us. Here's what's going on right now. Big upper ridge and a northerly flow in place. This upper ridge is going to start shifting to the east, providing a little bit more of a northeasterly and easterly flow over the Gulf of Mexico. That's why it looks like this tropical system, whatever tries to form, would likely also stay to our west. Now, also what we're looking at is this upper trough that is over the Bay of Campeche, we'll say more of the southern Gulf. That's going to start drawing this tropical system northward, but also help to probably keep it as a fairly weak system. So yes, the chance for development has increased to 70%, but that chance for development only means as maybe a depression or storm. So while it can kind of look scary to see that red coloring in the Gulf of Mexico, it just means that the models are starting to indicate maybe some type of center or more organized system developing. Right now, though, it looks like that something would be a fairly weak depression or storm. And right now, both the GFS, notice kind of a landfall into Mexico, and the Euro. This has maybe more of an impact a little bit farther north, but still looking at potential development, Bay of Campeche, Western Gulf, and then eventually kind of moving into either northern Mexico or into Texas, and then maybe kind of hugging along the coastline as it continues moving inland. But right now, the only impacts to us would be rainfall. And either way, no matter what develops, we are still looking at that surge of moisture coming northward as we get toward late Sunday, more so into Monday and Tuesday. So those days look to be our wettest days, overcast skies and kind of just a constant lighter and moderate rainfall. So increasing our rain chances on Monday and Tuesday to around 70%. At least it'll keep our temperatures down. But again, with so much of the rebuilding, not the kind of weather you are looking forward to. Scattered showers on Sunday. Scattered showers will continue through next week. So tomorrow is really going to be the last dry day looking forward.
We certainly don't have to tell you that the last few weeks have been stressful.
It's completely normal to feel scared and hopeless, frustrated, or even angry. There's a round-the-clock hotline you can call for mental health crises related to natural disasters. It's operated by the Department of Health and Human Services.
So just dial 1-800-985-5990 at any time of the day to talk with a trained crisis counselor. You can also reach them through text. Just text "Talk with Us," all one word, to 66746.
And we want to thank you so much for watching our special coverage of the aftermath and ongoing recovery from Hurricane Ida.
Stay with us after the break for the Eyewitness News at 5.
Live from WWL-TV, this is the Eyewitness News at 5.
Well, good afternoon, and thanks for watching our extended coverage of Hurricane Ida. I'm Katie Moore.
And I'm Karen Swenson. Tonight we are learning more about when some schools could reopen. In Jefferson Parish, the earliest students could return to some schools is September 20th, with staff returning on the 16th to prepare. That's for Tier 1, with fewer than a dozen schools that suffered the least amount of damage. 20 other schools are in Tier 2. The return date for those, for students, it's September 24th. And Tier 3 has 41 schools and a return date of October 1st. You can check our website for details on which schools are in which tiers.
And in Plaquemines Parish, the curfew has been lifted for the East Bank. It's good news for duck hunters ready to start the teal hunting season early tomorrow morning. Life getting back to normal just a little bit. The dusk to dawn curfew remains in place for the West Bank of Plaquemines from the Alliance Refinery all the way to Venice. As parts of New Orleans are on their way to recovery, the Bayou region still looks much like it did after Ida passed almost 2 weeks ago.
But since day one, the community has helped neighbors get back on their feet. Allison Basil is live at a church in Lafourche Parish where a donation drive has run nonstop today.
Yeah, so you guys, this is pretty cool. Since we arrived here at First Baptist Church Golden Meadow, the line has not stopped. We got here around 11 a.m. You see a few cars right here behind me, but this line actually wraps around the entire building. So the process is simple. People pull up, they tell volunteers what items they're looking for, and then the shopping begins. Inside the church's gym here, the room is filled with donations, paper products, cleaning supplies, endless tables of food, baby products, and more. The church's pastor says as soon as Ida hit, the donations came pouring in, and they tell me the donation drive-through is helping keep people afloat. Now remember, most of the parish is still without power. The church started this drive about a week ago, and they don't plan to stop anytime soon as long as those donations keep flowing in. So coming up at 6, we'll show you how leaders in the town of Golden Meadows are also helping out. Live in Lafourche, Allison Basil, 13 News Now.
All right, well, we thank you for helping us out. Here's a look at the work to get the water out of southern Jefferson Parish. Crews with the Coastal Protection and Restoration Authority have these temporary pumps that are set up in Lower Lafitte near the Orange Street pump station. Many of the pumping stations there need electricity to work, and power still hasn't been restored. The latest estimate from Entergy is to have power restored for Lower Jefferson no later than September 29th.
It's quite an effort. Well, many people in St. Charles Parish are without basic necessities right now as well.
Yeah, Meg Farah spent the day in Luling as the community came out to accept an overwhelming donation from people who live in San Diego. And we join Meg there live. These stories are remarkable, Meg.
People amaze me sometimes, Karen, and the parishioners here at Holy Family Catholic Church here in Luling, as you said, they not only got this massive gift, but they had a massive volunteer effort today. Let me show you what just happened hours ago. Dozens and dozens of volunteers came out to unload an 18-wheeler filled to the top with generators, camping stoves, portable AC units, food, water, cleaning supplies, even wheelbarrows. The truck drove overnight from San Diego, and it all began when a young California mother was in her car bringing her kids to school and heard radio news report about the devastation here in St. Charles Parish. So she started a campaign to get some supplies. Well, then former Charger quarterback Philip Rivers heard about it. He got involved as well. And her brother-in-law is a priest in Mandeville, and he got her in touch with the church here in Luling. And when they saw how much was donated, they were overwhelmed.
And it has blown up. It has become way bigger than we can imagine. We have big problems here, and our God is so much bigger than what we know, and he's showing up as big as can be. And it's not ending, it's just beginning. And so last weekend we had 7,500 meals fed from this parking lot, from other places. This weekend we're having this 18-wheeler, Monday we're having another 18-wheeler.
And as you just heard, they're going to do it all again on Monday again, because another 18-wheeler, they said, that was 15 feet longer, filled to the top, is coming again from San Diego. And so that's going to be really exciting. What they do is they're giving it out to all the different churches, and then they distribute it to the people in this area, St. Charles Parish, who are most in need. Now, on a completely different note, Karen, Archbishop Gregory Amen did come by. He wanted to pray with the parishioners here. He wanted to give them a little encouragement to keep going. And we had the opportunity after doing this story to pull him aside and ask him about the other story that we've been following, where there were 10 senior living apartments in Orleans Parish that had to be shut down because of poor conditions according to the city in the aftermath of Hurricane Ida. We asked him, since the Archdiocese does operate several of those, if he would like to comment on that situation, and he said that he did not at this time. So reporting live from Luling, Meg Farris, Eyewitness News.
All right, Meg, thank you very much. A Lake Hermitage couple was trapped inside their home for 3 days after Hurricane Ida flooded their neighborhood.
Hard to believe, but they decided not to evacuate along with several other neighbors. They tell Candace Charles that nobody expected it to be 7 days before deputies could come out to help them. Candace is joining us live outside of that couple's home now. Candace.
Yeah, that's right. No one expected it to be so long, but this is where the Vincents had parked their car on this little hill here to keep it safe. But by 7 p.m. that Sunday Ida hit, the water was up to here. Now, Vincents, they sat over here and watched all this unfold, and unfortunately, the water just kept raging. 3 days later, and the couple was still stuck in their home made of shipping containers. Both retired military. The couple had prepared for the hurricane and its aftermath. Once the water receded, the couple walked several blocks down Lake Hermitage Road to Highway 23 just in case they needed to walk out and get help for several neighbors who remained in the community, including their 77-year-old neighbor. But by the time they got to the end of the road, it was just swamp water. By day 6, they decided it was time to ask for help.
So that's when we were like, okay, we have about 48 hours left, conservative. That's when we might need to ask for some help. So that's when we kind of reached out, and that's also coincidentally when 23, the water just was starting to recede enough to get a truck down. So people could get a truck as far as Myrtle Grove, and they put in at Myrtle Grove. And so both the sheriff and a mud boat came the same day. So we got gas, water, ice. It was like Christmas out here.
Yeah, it certainly felt like Christmas for them, I'm sure. But for those who stayed and for those who are returning, this is just the beginning of this ordeal as they begin to try to rebuild. Coming up at 6, find out why this couple ended up staying and how they got through all of this and how this community is rebuilding on very little resources. For now in Lake Hermitage, I'm Candace Charles, Eyewitness News.
All right, the needs are great. Thank you so much, Candace. Today, the Louisiana State Police held a news conference announcing a new team to handle in-custody deaths and shootings.
This comes, of course, after new reports of accusations involving excessive force in the arrests of black men by troopers in the Monroe area. Details coming up.
The Sewage and Water Board managed to keep everything up and running through Ida. We will have an update from Eyewitness investigator David Hammer on how they managed to pull that off.
And Eyewitness News has helped families find loved ones who were in that horrific and deadly nursing home evacuation to a warehouse in Independence. Those stories and more, plus your local weather experts forecast. Stay with us. The New Orleans Sewage and Water Board is usually the favorite target of residents after big storms. But after Hurricane Ida, all eyes have been on Entergy and its total loss of power. The water board wasn't without its faults, but David Hammer from our Down the Drain team found it came through Ida relatively unscathed.
For the first few dark days after Hurricane Ida, the New Orleans Sewerage and Water Board actually supplied more electricity than the electric company, a fact first noted by the Water Board's main watchdog, City Councilman Joe Giarrusso.
Considering they lost energy power, it's pretty remarkable. One of my big concerns as the storm was approaching is whether or not we were going to lose power to the system. The fact that they were able to be a little bit over the 50 megawatts throughout is, like I said, I think something that many of us did not expect.
Sewerage and Water Board Executive Director Ghassan Korban said turbines 4 and 5, which have been broken a lot in recent years, pulled through in the clutch.
Those are not the machines we want to rely on for the future, but for this event, they served us well. EMDs kicked in and they did their part. Backup generations elsewhere also, in many cases, did their part as well. And there was a lot of prep work that took place, and we put people in the right places, and we were just all hands on deck.
That meant New Orleans never lost drinking water pressure and never needed a boil water advisory, like Jefferson Parish and other areas did. It also meant the city's drainage pumps were able to clear most streets of water by the morning of August 30th. Except in sections of New Orleans East, where pump stations 15 and 18 had problems, and in a section of Lakeview, near pump station 12, where the only pump was already broken before Ida.
I mean, I'm proud of how the utility overall performed, with the exception of, these localized issues here and there. I think we did perform very well.
There's some debate about what caused the Lakeview flooding. Giarrusso and Korban both suspect it was not pump station 12, but some blockage in the drainage pipes or culverts.
The fact there was retention of water 2 years ago and 12 was up makes it harder for me to believe that 12 being down was an issue this time.
The one major failure for the Sewerage and Water Board in Hurricane Ida was a direct result of Entergy's total loss of power.
We have 84 sewer pumping stations, and at one point, none of them had power. The way it is now, we do not have any backup power on any, so that's obviously something we'll have to look at and assess.
Raw sewage flows through a series of lift stations to this treatment plant in the lower 9th Ward. Not only did it lose power during Hurricane Ida, it also flooded, forcing officials to dump raw sewage into the river and into Bayou Bienvenue.
Because the alternative is sewer backing up into people's homes, which obviously creates public health related issues, and obviously no one wants sewage in their home. So it was a very tough decision, but given the two options, I had to do the diversion and let the sewage flow into the Mississippi.
Louisiana Environmental Quality Secretary Chuck Carr Brown granted special approval to divert the sewage. The Sewerage and Water Board also deployed 33 vacuum trucks to lift stations and sewer mains to unclog them. With backup generators at the treatment plant also damaged, crews had to keep diverting sewage into the river for more than a week after the storm. The agency just tweeted Thursday that treatment plant operations are normalizing. Ironically, the same loss of Entergy power that caused the sewer backups may have ultimately saved the city from a serious public health crisis by reducing usage.
The fact that some people left the city, many people who stayed did not have power, so they could not run their washing machines and what have you. That certainly helped reduce the volume.
A near miss for sure, but on balance, a better result from the Sewerage and Water Board than many expected. David Hammer, Eyewitness News.
And Councilman Giarrusso said he will be asking the Sewage and Water Board to answer questions about how its systems performed in Hurricane Ida during a City Council Public Works Committee hearing that is scheduled for September 30th.
New policies and procedures are going into place in Louisiana State Police.
As part of their response after controversies surrounding transparency and trust. Mike McDaniel joins us live from outside State Police headquarters in Baton Rouge with details.
Hey there, and the Colonel here says that's going to be top to bottom. Some of these reforms include mandated training for troopers, greater accountability for body cameras as well as the footage, and a ban on chokeholds and impact weapons to head and neck areas when it comes to suspects. This agency has been under intense criticism in recent months in its handling of cases specifically involving with people of color. Now, recently released video of a deadly arrest from 2019 out of Monroe shows troopers stunning, punching, and dragging a man named Ronald Green. This all happened after a car chase. That video was withheld for 2 years, and an internal investigation here at LSP could not determine whether that was intentional. That video then led to revelations of other cases of alleged excessive force, withholding information, and even false reports to justify actions. Colonel Lamar Davis, who leads LSP, hopes reforms will build transparency and trust within the agency.
I will not have anybody on our agency that's going to violate our laws. Where I can, where the law allows me to, I'm going to hold them accountable. If I can train them, I'm going to train them. If they're beyond training, I'm going to terminate them.
A couple of other reforms being put in place would be immediate investigations of alleged misconduct, and there will also be a focus on the mental health of troopers. Now, the ACLU, they support these reforms, but say that there should be an investigation from the U.S. Department of Justice because they feel there are historical wrongs to address. They say the state cannot move forward until you right those wrongs. Live from police headquarters in Baton Rouge, Mike McDaniel, Eyewitness News.
Mike, thanks very much. And back to our Ida recovery. Progress has been slow in Grand Isle, but understandably.
Yeah, Hurricane Ida passed right over the barrier island, and there are still no utilities there with lots of destruction to clean up. It's everywhere. Maria Aguilera has spent the day there, and she's joining us now with more on what she's seen. Maria?
Yeah, here in Grand Isle, residents were allowed back on the island to assess the damage and to really just see what they need to do to rebuild. And from what we've seen, it's going to take some time. Now, every structure here suffered some sort of damage. Some homes are still uninhabitable. And really, I'll tell you that videos and photos do not capture the devastation that this community has been left with. The community of Grand Isle is picking up the pieces. Louisiana's only inhabited barrier island became uninhabitable after Hurricane Ida hit.
19 years.
Dean Chasson's home was damaged again, the first time after Katrina. He says it feels like deja vu.
Bottom half of the shed's gone, a little more than half the roof is gone, and then of course all the water inside.
His neighbors are helping him rebuild. He says he focuses on the good over the bad.
That's what we have to live with to live in paradise.
On the island, there's no water, electricity, or gas.
Still taken back by all of it. There's a lot more to do than I guess you say we're all ready for.
Ian Caulfield has been riding his bike to get around.
We weren't ready for a storm like this.
He feels blessed. His home is not too bad, but he says he was distraught when he came back to see all the devastation.
Honestly, unrecognizable. I came in, didn't even recognize where I was at, couldn't tell anything at all.
Crews have been working to remove sand and debris off the roads. Some of the damaged homes are camps, like Ricky Lambert's.
You know, at least ours is still standing. There's a lot that's not.
He had been visiting Grand Isle for years, so he finally bought his own camp 3 years ago.
We knew it was always a possibility. You know, of course, you always cross your fingers and, you know, hope it doesn't get you, but it's going to get somebody. So I guess it was just our turn.
People here are remaining optimistic that they'll get back on their feet soon.
I imagine by next summer, everything will be somewhat, you know, clean and back to order.
Had a lot of great parties in that shed and going to have a lot more.
And where we're standing right now, there isn't nearly as much damage as we've seen on the west end of the island, but really it's tough to get around because of all the sand that's there, which they're working to clear at this moment. But as you've heard from the community, they are strong, so there is no doubt that they will rebuild. In Grand Isle, Maria Aguilera, Eyewitness News.
Yeah, getting that sand off the road has to be a monumental task of its own. Thank you, Maria.
All right, we will be right back.
Every little bit helps with the cleaning, the recovery, the rebuilding, and so many still without power. It has felt a little bit nicer today. Now, not exactly that fall-like feel, but I allowed everyone to go out and get a pumpkin spice, whatever you want to put pumpkin spice in. 85 degrees. Again, not exactly a fall feel, but considering our average high is 89 degrees, not bad. 55-degree dew point. Humidity is only at 36% and winds out of the north at 8. Today's high only 86 degrees, a full 3 degrees below average. Now, our morning low was right at average. The city, it usually takes a little bit more to cool us down, but what's amazing is it took a cold front and a drop in humidity to see our average low actually met at Kenner. Now, we were in the 60s on the North Shore and south of the lake if you were away from the city. 67 at Belle Chase, 65 degrees over at Morgan City, 59 was the morning low at Bogalusa. And with clear skies and low humid air again overnight tonight, we are anticipating another cool evening and very pleasant morning. We're in the 80s outside right now, but as that sun goes down, the temperatures should start to quickly drop and winds out of the north, but they are starting to take a little bit more of an easterly component, and I think we'll see more of an easterly wind during the day tomorrow. And then unfortunately by Sunday, more of a southeasterly wind. So these dew points in the 50s and low 60s, while pleasant now, are going to start to increase as we head into the latter half of the weekend, but we're still holding on to that dry air. So tomorrow morning, we will start the day on the very comfortable side in the 60s and lower 70s if you're in the metro area, with those dew points remaining in that 50 to low 60 range through most of the day tomorrow. Now, by later in the evening Sunday and Saturday into early on Sunday, the moisture starts to return in from the Gulf. But looking ahead to the forecast for the dew points, it doesn't look like we're going to see that real surge of tropical moisture, at least in terms of the higher humidity values. We'll see the dew points getting into the low 70s, but not the mid and upper 70s like we have seen so many times this season. Moisture and rainfall will begin working back in, along with some scattered showers on Sunday. Likely to see more rain Monday and Tuesday with what does look to be a developing tropical system, but this one looks as though it's going to stay well to our west. So staying less humid through the day tomorrow. Scattered storms on Sunday, more rain on Monday and Tuesday with that tropical wave, which at the moment doesn't look like it's going to necessarily directly impact us if there is an organized system. It's just going to be the surge of moisture headed our way. We've right now got this upper trough and big upper ridge. The upper ridge is actually going to start building to the east. That's going to create more of an easterly flow across the Gulf of Mexico, likely preventing whatever tries to move into the Gulf away from us. Also, you see this upper low, a lot of wind shear with this. This is helping to draw that system northward, and it's also going to likely keep it as a fairly weak system. So though there is a higher % chance of development, mainly because the models are starting to grab hold of something trying to form within this overall surge of moisture headed northward, but what that something may be, it could only be a depression, perhaps a storm, but that window of opportunity for any kind of real strengthening is going to be short-lived, because the GFS has it moving inland over Mexico by Monday afternoon. They're only really starting to develop by Sunday, and the Euro, kind of the same thing, an open wave moving across the Yucatan. Once it gets into the Bay of Campeche, southern Gulf by Sunday, could start to see a little bit more development. This has it moving a little bit more north along the coastline, moving eventually into Texas, but again, both models keeping it well to our west. All we would likely see from it by Monday and Tuesday would be an increase in our rainfall as that tropical surge of moisture heads our way through the end of the weekend and early part of next week. So our rain chances, unfortunately, will be coming back a bit heavier on Monday, Tuesday, or at least a little bit more widespread coverage, but rain on Sunday, rain after that event. So tomorrow is really going to be our last dry day in the next 7 days.
but it was WWL that gave me, honestly, gave me a little bit of light.
We're still uncovering more about what exactly happened that led more than 800 seniors to be packed inside of a warehouse in Independence during Hurricane Ida. And tonight, we're hearing from one woman who says she couldn't find her sister for several days after she was taken from the warehouse to a new facility. She tells Olivia Eugenio there was no excuse for this.
Very intelligent.
Life is a long and winding road.
She's got her PhD in education administration.
But all roads must end.
It was heartbreaking.
Some will leave with a wave, while others.
And they call it the long goodbye, and it is. It's for a reason they call it that. Alzheimer's it's really difficult.
Jean Orgeron's sister, Dr. Linda Coyle, has Alzheimer's. She was living in Mason DeVille in Harvey before Hurricane Ida, when Jean got a call saying her sister would be taken to a facility to wait out the storm.
You say this is our sister facility, you're under the assumption that you took the responsibility to care for these people, and your sister facility is an actual facility. A warehouse is not a facility.
Linda was one of more than 800 seniors inside the Independence warehouse during Hurricane Ida.
To think that she was shoved on a mattress on a floor, lined up in a warehouse. I mean, we treat animals better than that.
But on September 3rd, Jean's sister went missing. She found out her sister had been taken to a different location. Did anybody say anything?
No, we did not hear anything.
3 days passed before Jean found out Linda was taken first to Alexandria and now to a facility in North Louisiana.
She's going to be at least 5.5 hours from me. Hurricanes are nothing new. We know it can happen. There was no excuse for this.
Making life's already long and winding road a most painful goodbye.
At this point, after everything she's been through, is she even going to know who I am?
Olivia Eugenio, Eyewitness News.
Well, Hurricane Ida has been particularly tough for the schools.
That's right, and that makes it a tough situation for parents whose children are stuck at home due to the school closures. Bill Churchwell reports from St. Charles Parish.
For residents out here in Destrehan, this is a welcome sight. Linemen working around the clock to get much-needed power restored to this area. Joanna Schrock says it is hard to keep track of the days since Ida. Her home here on West Woodlawn Drive still without power, while outside the hum of generators breaks the silence of the afternoon.
There's probably not a roof in our parish that doesn't have damage.
It's a common scene throughout the streets of Destrehan, hit hard by Hurricane Ida.
I feel so much better when we can start repairing things and getting back to normal and getting the kids back to school.
Joanna's daughter, Maddie, was really looking forward to the new school year at Harry Hurst following last year's impact COVID had on her learning. Then came Ida.
Do you miss school? Sometimes. It feels nice to get a break.
Her mom hoping it won't be too long of a break, but getting the kids back to the classroom could take time. Right now, all St. Charles public schools are closed until further notice due to damage and power outages.
We have to get power back to the school so that they can repair the schools.
Joanna says it could be weeks before the lights return to her neighborhood. Still, the sound of these generators, she says, is overpowered by this community's strength.
So I'm hopeful. I keep thinking that it's going to come back a lot sooner, and I'm going to try to keep being optimistic.
Bill Churchwell, Eyewitness News.
And we will be right back. This week, we've mentioned some of the new COVID variants that are being discovered, and if there's any good news, it's that they do not appear to be as serious as the Delta variant, and that is expected to die off. Anthony Fauci gave an update on the variants earlier today.
The prevalence of the Mu and the C.1.2 variant is extremely low in the United States, 0.5% for Mu and nothing for the C.1.2. because the Delta variant continues to dominate. As always, we will continue to closely monitor these and other emerging variants. But the most important thing we can do to protect against any variant, be it Delta, Mu, or C.1.2, is to get vaccinated, which has always been our predominant message.
All right, in the latest release from the state health department, Louisiana has almost reached 2 million completed vaccinations. That's around 45% of the state population. Today, the state is reporting almost 2,200 new cases and 64 more deaths. Hospitalizations and ventilator use continue to drop, but Hurricane Ida has also disrupted the healthcare systems in many parishes, so this count may not be a very good reflection of the exact number of serious cases now. Many COVID testing sites are also down in the aftermath of Ida, so your best bet is to check with your closest pharmacy if you'd like to get tested this weekend.
The Taliban takeover of Afghanistan has left millions of residents in limbo, wondering what freedoms they still have. Ian Lee is in London with a look at what life is looking like under the new Taliban.
It's only been a month, but the Taliban is already making its mark. The group's flag and logo cover the walls of the U.S. Embassy. This graffiti reads, "Brothers, happiness in freedom." But those so-called freedoms are under threat. The Taliban uses tasers, tear gas, and guns to stop protests as women demand equal rights.
Still putting widely her chest to the gun demonstrates the level of changes and positive change of the society in Afghanistan.
Life has fundamentally changed in the country. Local barbers see business cut as more men grow beards like their new rulers. Girls are still in school, but they're separated from the boys. Women must also wear head coverings. For Afghanistan's renowned all-female orchestra, the music has stopped. Once a symbol of freedom, its members are in hiding, fearful the Taliban will ban music like it did in the 90s. This time around, the Taliban is trying to show a more moderate image. But acts of defiance are still met with a heavy hand. These Afghan journalists say they were tortured for covering a protest. Many fear Afghanistan's new Taliban will be just like the old one. Ian Lee, CBS News.
The Taliban's interim government is made up of all men, including many senior Taliban figures who became notorious for attacks on U.S. forces over the last 2 decades.
All right, back to Ida coverage. Supplies are pouring in from our neighbors on the Gulf Coast who know all too well what it's like in the aftermath of a devastating hurricane.
Yeah, one big shipment just arrived from Austin, Texas, and Betty Cross is showing us what they're putting together to help families rebuild their lives.
This is what it takes to start recovering from Hurricane Ida. Each one of these bins is a survivor's kit full of the basic supplies a man, woman, or family would need to start over.
The need is great. The recovery is going to be long-term.
Kate Cannon is with the Austin Disaster Relief Network. The nonprofit is loading 25 pallets of emergency supplies on this truck to send to New Orleans. It's the first large shipment of water, tarps, and other supplies that's being sent because a big truck wasn't available to get everything to Louisiana. But today, Tito's Vodka came through with this one. And it's being stuffed with everything storm victims might need.
We have heard from our partners on the ground there's a huge need for diapers and baby supplies, so we're sending some of those too.
Even while supplies were being hauled off.
Oh, they're lovely.
More donations were coming in.
I just heard that they were taking donations and wanted to do some small thing to help people.
Shampoo, toothbrushes, pillows, and blankets are needed. But the Disaster Relief Network says when hurricane victims open these bins, it's also important that they don't feel alone.
We've encouraged the people who've put these kits together to write a personal note to the person who receives that to give them hope in the middle of their crisis.
That is so amazing. And police departments down the bayou are getting some reinforcements after working nonstop since the days leading up to Hurricane Ida.
4 police departments in the Lafayette area sent officers and food to help in the storm's aftermath. Many officers with the Houma Police Department have been working 18-hour days since Hurricane Ida devastated the city and presumably their homes too. The extra help now gives them a chance to try to care for their own damage and families.
Just to see some friendly faces come in to feed them and give them what I call is a hug on the inside is great.
We have to be able to help our brothers and sisters out when they're in need. Because look, this very well could have been in Lafayette Parish.
Yeah, the Houma Police Department sent officers and supplies last year to help in the recoveries from Hurricanes Laura and Delta.
Beautiful weather though today. It almost for a moment makes you forget that we are in hurricane season and at the statistical peak of hurricane season right now, September 10th. So things do start to drop off in terms of the frequency and number of storms, but we are still very much in the heart of the season. A lot of sunshine outside right now. Temperatures have not been bad. Mid-80s, dew points low, humidity even lower. And today's high was only 86 degrees below our average high of 89. Look at the record high on this date, 101. Not even close to that. And our mornings, we could call it cool, especially on the North Shore. 59 degrees was our start in Bogalusa. Low 60s from Hammond to Slidell. 67 at Belle Chase, though. Kenner, 75, which is the average low for this time of year. So it took a cold front and a sharp drop in humidity to actually see our average low met. Sunny skies all across the area, and we will be under clear skies once again overnight tonight. We're in the 80s across the area. No one getting into the upper 80s, no one getting up to 90 degrees. In early September, that is quite a feat. Winds out of the north, but they are going to start changing direction over the weekend, bringing back that Gulf moisture. But for the time being, the dry air stays. Dew points 50s, low 60s, very pleasant. And mornings will be on the cool side. Tomorrow we'll be in the upper 50s, low 60s north, mid 60s away from the city and low 70s in the city. But then the humidity starts to return as we get throughout the day. Saturday still very nice, but late Saturday into early Sunday, the moisture will begin to surge back and more of the Gulf moisture, Gulf muggies coming back as we head to the next week, along with, unfortunately, chances for showers and thunderstorms. We'll start to see the clouds increasing late Saturday and Sunday, mostly cloudy with some scattered showers. More rain, though, is on the way as a surge of tropical moisture begins moving toward us. Now, at the moment, that surge of tropical moisture is associated with a tropical wave, which models are starting to come into a little bit more in agreement of maybe a depression or storm forming. Does that mean an impact to us directly? No, it just looks like still a surge of moisture. But as I mentioned, today is the climatological statistical peak of hurricane season. After today, we start to see a slow decline in the number of storms, but September and early October, and as last year's Zeta proved, even late October, is still very much an active part of the season. Thankfully, there really are no direct threats to us. What we're watching is a high chance for something to form with a wave that is near Belize will be moving over the Yucatan and getting into the western Gulf of Mexico by the end of the weekend. At the moment, whatever it is that tries to form in the western Gulf looks to be nothing more than a surge of tropical moisture as far as we are concerned. And the reason that whatever tries to develop will likely stay off to the west is because of the placement of an upper high that will keep all of that activity in terms of a developing tropical system to our west. The surge of tropical moisture, unfortunately, we can't get rid of that. That is headed our way. So the moisture will help to increase our clouds and rainfall as we get into the early part of next week. And under the circumstances, we really could do without it. But unfortunately, It looks like it is coming our way. In terms of the rainfall totals, we'll kind of fine tune this as we see what really does try and form. But right now we're looking at probably 1 to 2, maybe 2 to 3 inches of rain over the course of a couple of days, which we can handle. Anything more than that, maybe a little bit of a stress to some flooding issues, and it'll be something to watch. One thing that I wanted to point out is very interesting, statistically speaking. What we're looking at with these numbers are the return frequencies of major hurricanes as far as specific parts of the coastline. What that means is for any one location, how often, how many years in between major hurricanes making landfall. Right at around the South Louisiana coastline, the return frequency is every 20 years. So meaning those areas could expect to see a major hurricane every 20 years. It was not the case the last year, less than a year really. You go back to late 2020, Hurricane Zeta, basically right across the same spot where Hurricane Ida made landfall, less than a year apart. So that return frequency of 20 years was down to a year as far as that part of the South Louisiana coast goes. Just very, very interesting, and just shows you that we have been in a very active part of tropical development. Dry tomorrow, then the scattered showers return by Sunday. More rainfall by Monday and Tuesday, but that tropical surge of moisture doesn't look like anything threatening from the tropics itself. Then as we get into next week, more of the daily rain chances through the end of the week.
The Saints will be thin at cornerback for Sunday's game against the Packers after the Black and Gold placed one of their starting defensive backs on injured reserve. But he's not the only player that went on IR Friday. We've got those details and the final injury report ahead in sports. The NFL season is only 1 day old, but the Saints already placed 2 starters on injured reserve Friday. Cornerback Ken Crawley and wide receiver Traquan Smith will miss at least the first 3 weeks of the regular season. Crawley missed practice all this week with a hamstring injury, Rookie Paulson Adebo will replace Crawley at the number 2 corner for New Orleans. He's played well this preseason. Smith also dealing with a hamstring issue. He sat out practice both yesterday and today. The fourth-year receiver missed a majority of training camp because of injuries. Now, those two obviously won't play Sunday against the Packers. Backup tackle James Hurst is listed as questionable with a knee injury. He did not practice Friday. He was on the field Wednesday and Thursday. Starting left tackle Teron Armstead also listed on the injury report Friday with a back ailment, but he does not have a game designation. That's good news. Cornerback Marshawn Lattimore also good to go for Sunday in Jacksonville. He returned to full participation Friday after being limited Thursday with a knee injury. We'll see how the Saints deal with this thin thing they have right now at the cornerback position. They need some cornerbacks right now, but they will be thin there for Sunday going against Aaron Rodgers and the Packers. 3:25 Sunday in Jacksonville. And we'll be right back after this.
Some local 9/11 remembrance ceremonies have been canceled or postponed because of Hurricane Ida. The St. Tammany Fire District No. 1 is going to hold a smaller ceremony at the 9/11 Memorial at Slidell Heritage Park.
The larger Patriot Day ceremony has been rescheduled for September 19th. A smaller ceremony will start at 8:30 tomorrow morning. Officials are inviting anyone who is interested to join them for a prayer and a moment of silence to recognize that horrific event. And it is now time to take a break.
Our extended coverage of the aftermath of Hurricane Ida is going to continue in a moment with the Eyewitness News at 6.
Live from WWL-TV, this is the Eyewitness News at 6.
Good evening, I'm Karen Swenson.
And I'm Sharice Gibson. Thank you so much for watching our continuing coverage of the recovery after Hurricane Ida.
And we want to start off with some of tonight's headlines. St. John is under a parish-wide boil water advisory. And this is going to continue until Entergy power is restored at the water plant. Tangipahoa has modified their parish-wide curfew, though, starting tonight. It'll now run from 11 p.m. till 5 a.m. until further notice. And Jefferson Parish Schools updated when they are expected to reopen. They're going to do so based on a tiered schedule on when buildings are deemed safe, starting on September 20th. We'll have much more on that later on in the show. And if you've been outside today, you know it is pretty nice out there.
Yeah, it's still a little warm later in the day. We're really enjoying the lower humidity, though. Let's check in with Chief Meteorologist Chris Franklin. Chris, will it stick around this weekend?
Well, not the whole weekend, the first half of it. Tomorrow looking very nice. And if you are too warm with the low humidity, it's a lot easier to cool off by just stepping into the shade. So your body is able to cool off more efficiently with this low humid air, and it just feels a lot nicer. Blue sky, beautiful looking out toward downtown this afternoon, and we have not had a cloud in sight other than a few high clouds down along the coastline. That has been it. Not often do we get to enjoy days like this in early September because it is still summertime. Temperatures right now are in the low and mid 80s. That's about as warm as we have gotten all day today, and expect similar conditions for tomorrow afternoon before a change in the weather. Dew points are in the 50s, low 60s, and with clear skies, that will allow temperatures to cool down by quite a bit during the overnight. That dry air still in place across the Gulf South. By tomorrow night and into Sunday, winds are going to start to become more southeasterly, which will bring back that Gulf moisture. Temperatures in the city will be bottoming out in the low 70s. Outside of the city, probably mid to upper 60s. And on the North Shore, we'll see temperatures dropping into the low 60s during the overnight and by early tomorrow morning. So we will have one more cool morning before the humidity starts to return by Sunday, and then rain chances also coming back, and a lot of that may be tied to a tropical wave that we're watching with a higher potential for development. But don't get too nervous about it. We'll talk more about it in just a few minutes.
All right, Chris, thank you so much. Well, progress has been slow in Grand Isle. Hurricane Ida passed right by the barrier island, and there are still no utilities and a lot left to clean up. Maria Aguilera has that story.
The road to recovery for Grand Isle residents is just beginning. Every structure here suffered some sort of damage. You can see here down power lines tangled up with debris. A porch swing here to my right. Meanwhile, across the street, we also see some mattresses and some other debris. But really, the worst part of it is on the west end of the island, which is really difficult to get around because of all the sand, which the National Guard has been trying to clear. Now, residents were allowed back in today to assess the damage, and the road to recovery is a long one. There is still no water or electricity here, so officials are saying if anyone is coming, to come at your own risk. Now, they've already removed 150 loads of sand that they're still working to clear side streets on the west end of the island. Dean Chastone's home was damaged again. The first time was after Katrina hit, and he says it's feeling like deja vu.
Bottom half of the shed's gone, a little more than half the roof is gone, and then of course all the water inside.
His neighbors are helping him rebuild, and he says he's focusing on the good instead of the bad.
That's what we have to live with to live in paradise.
Some of the damaged homes are camps like Ricky Lambert's. He had been visiting Grand Isle for years, so he finally bought his own camp 3 years ago.
You know, at least ours is still standing. There's a lot that's not.
One thing we've noticed here is people are remaining optimistic that they'll get back on their feet soon.
I imagine by next summer everything will be somewhat, clean and back to order.
Really, photos and videos do not capture the devastation this community has been left with. And of course, as we've heard from them, they are strong and they are confident that they will rebuild back and better than ever. In Grand Isle, Maria Aguilera, Eyewitness News.
Well, many people in St. Charles Parish are without basic necessities right now.
Well, Meg Parrish joins us live from Luling, where that community came out to accept an overwhelming donation today. Hi, Meg.
Hey, Karen and Sharice, they sure did, and it all happened right in this parking lot earlier today where the Holy Family Catholic Church had a massive volunteer effort. Take a look.
All right, 2 per truck.
This massive volunteer effort to bring relief to the worst hit victims of Hurricane Ida in St. Charles Parish all started with a mom in San Diego listening to the news on her radio while in the car with her children. The report was about the destruction of the hurricane.
I just couldn't believe it, and I felt like God said,
If not you, who? If not now, when?
So she talked to her brother-in-law in Mandeville, Father Jeremy Lambert, about what she could do to help. Then put out a call to people in California, and the result was a story like the multiplying of the fishes and the loaves.
It has become way bigger than we can imagine. We have big problems here, and our God is so much bigger than what we know, and he's showing up as big as can be. And it's not ending, it's just beginning.
It was just much more than we anticipated. And I think it was going to be one truck. And then as the media in San Diego picked up the story, and I think Philip Rivers was involved, the San Diego Chargers got some more traction, and all of a sudden it was 2 trucks, one today, one coming on Monday.
Can you bring your truck closer?
Then they put out a call to all the churches in St. Charles Parish to come by with trucks. Then about 150 volunteers spent the morning outside of Holy Family Catholic Church in Luling, loading up mountains of water, food, cleaning supplies, generators, chainsaws, wheelbarrows, camping stoves, and portable air conditioners so they could take the California gifts, these bare necessities of life, back to their most needy members of their congregations.
The Louisiana people are so resilient in all this suffering, and we've been, going into their houses, stripping all the drywall, throwing all their furniture out into the yard, and they're just saying, we're so blessed. This is just stuff. It'll all pass.
And while these supplies are welcome and desperately needed, Parish President Matt Jewell says the biggest need in St. Charles Parish is housing.
We have so many families whose homes are just completely unlivable. Families who don't have the means during the good times, who are extra in need right now.
Archbishop Amon showed up at the church too.
Many of them are saying that they have lost almost everything, if not everything. They point upward and say, I still believe in God, and I know God will take care of me. Some of them are naturally despondent, discouraged, but they haven't lost faith.
And for Tammy's 13-year-old son, who was in the car that day when his mom heard the news report, he got to experience how one person can move mountains and help hundreds of complete strangers on the other side of the country.
We feel really great, and that's just that's a better feeling than like someone giving you stuff. I don't know, it just feels a lot better.
And as you heard Father Stephen say earlier in that piece, right here in this parking lot, it's going to happen all over again on Monday with a tractor trailer 15 feet longer than the one that came filled to the top today. Now, on a completely separate note, we had a chance to pull Archbishop Gregory Amon aside to ask him about another story that the Eyewitness News team has been working on for a while now, and that is the living conditions at some of these senior living apartments that have been closed by the city throughout the week. There were 10, some of them are operated by the Archdiocese, and the Archbishop said at this time he declined to comment. Reporting live from Luling, Meg Farris, Eyewitness News.
All right, Meg, hopefully we'll get some answers soon. Thank you so much, Meg. For several days last week, the New Orleans Sewage and Water Board was actually generating more electricity than the electric company, Entergy, which lost all transmission power to the city. And with the Sewage and Water Board's power plant working at near capacity, New Orleans did not lose water pressure and did not need any boil water advisories, unlike Jefferson Parish and other areas. The city also avoided any significant flooding, except in a few sections where pumps were out.
Nobody's boasting at the utility, but we are very happy that we were able to manage it.
Well, the one major failure was with the sewer system, which lost its only source of power from Entergy. Executive Director Ghassan Corban said he will be looking at getting backup generators for at least some of the city's 84 sewer lift stations moving forward. Several families in Plaquemines Parish were trapped for days after Hurricane Ida made landfall. Lake Hermitage, just outside of the levee protection system, and many residents did evacuate. But for those who stayed behind, the hurricane was just the beginning of a long and dangerous ordeal. Candace Charles, she joins us live from Lake Hermitage, where she has been speaking with some of those residents. Very resilient folks.
That's right. I mean, I'm on Lake Hermitage Road, blocks away from Highway 23. So I want you to imagine this, folks, walking blocks and blocks down to Highway 23 after days of being trapped inside your home. Now, that is what Tracy and Bob Vincent did after Hurricane Ida flooded their community. And it was days after that when they finally got additional food and supplies. Landfall. Hurricane Ida forces rushing water into the Lake Hermitage community, trapping Trey Bob Vincent inside their home.
We essentially ended up as an island right here, so water on this side and water on this side by Myrtle Grove. And it was still, up until a few days ago, about 5 feet of water, so we would have needed boats.
One of the few homes still inhabited the day after the hurricane, the Vincent home, made out of shipping containers, became their refuge.
We could see down the road, and we knew that there was down power poles right here, so we knew it was going to be a while before we got out.
This wasn't their first hurricane. In fact, the two had never left their home for a hurricane. And as former military, the two were prepared, or so they thought.
We didn't know how bad it was until we walked to the end of the road.
It would be 3 days before the couple could leave their home. With ration food and supplies running out, the Vincents walked several blocks down Lake Hermitage Road to Highway 23.
Right before 23, as you turn off 23 onto Hermitage, was about 150 yards of about 3 feet high of swamp grass that we
They were trapped. But the few that stayed behind, including the Vincent's 77-year-old neighbor, had a network of people to help.
Everybody was like, take whatever you need, we'll work it out when you get home.
But by day 6, with ration food slowly disappearing and the gas needed to run their generator running out, it was time to make a decision.
So that's when we kind of reached out. Both the sheriff and a mud boat came the same day. So we got gas, water, ice. It was like Christmas out here.
Now it's time to clean up.
It's sort of a hot mess, but we're accustomed to it.
And there's a lot of work ahead.
It's hard to clean without running water, so we have no running water, no power.
Henry McCansby returned home Tuesday. This is home for the folks of Lake Hermitage.
You pay a price to live in God's country. And this is the price you pay, I guess.
Money and pets kept the Vincents home during this hurricane, but when I asked if they'd do it again, she simply said,
but I probably wouldn't stay for this strong of one again.
Yeah, and it's dried up here now, but the roads leading to Lake Hermitage still hold water. Some of the area has water, and I talked to the parish president about this as well, just to see what was going to happen next. There are some pipes that still need to be cleaned out in order to drain all of that water and hopefully get Plaquemines Parish back on to rebuilding. For now in Lake Hermitage, I'm Candace Charles, Eyewitness News.
All right, at least they were still smiling despite it all. Thank you, Candace. Still to come at 6, help continues to come for those in the hardest hit parishes.
Now that includes the community of Golden Meadow. We'll show you one of today's giveaways.
And on the North Shore, people are doing what they can to help one another clean up the damage left behind. That and more after the break. Well, donation drives are popping up all across the area for those impacted by Ida, especially in the Bayou region. Today in Lafourche, our crews stopped by a few, and each one of them had a long line of cars waiting to get in. Allison Basil shows us an all-day giveaway at Golden Meadow Town Hall.
Yes, tables of food, bundles of paper products, baby supplies, you name it. Leaders in Golden Meadow had plenty of donations to give away. Councilwoman Lacey Lache helped organize a makeshift store on Friday. She says they started planning for the store 5 days after the storm hit. She says donations came from all across the country, and she tells me the store opened at 10 a.m. and cars started lining up at 7 a.m. Volunteers walked up to waiting cars, grabbed a list of what the driver needed, and went shopping for them, all free of charge.
And we must have had 100 loaves of bread that's gone. Our ice chests, that's what people need. People are wanting ice chests, people are wanting towels. We ran out of towels. We have a lot of cleaning supplies left and stuff, and we still have canned goods left, but maybe not the ones you want, but you can still feed your family, you know.
And organizers tell me they hope to hold another shop day in 2 weeks. In Golden Meadow, Allison Basil, Eyewitness News.
On the North Shore, it's all hands on deck to help those whose homes were destroyed. Now, this includes a Muslim-based group that's helping their neighbors clean and rebuild, all while shining a light on a future of people from all backgrounds working together. Colby Satterfield has their story.
The devastation is real here in Meadowville. This home completely torn in half after a tree fell on top of a bed that a couple was sleeping in. Now a crew that's here helping them picking up the pieces is one that has spent years rebuilding.
It's hard to believe anyone could survive that.
It can only be described as catastrophic.
When I saw the house, it's all open. All the water coming inside the living room.
Neelar Dalton and her husband's home is just a shell of what it was 12 days ago after a tree came down on them during Hurricane Ida.
And that's what we came out of.
The pillows and mattress they were laying on barely visible through the rubble.
If that tree would have rotated 1/4 of an inch to the west, it'd have killed us both.
Somehow they survived with only scratches. Now the focus is shifting to cleanup.
You know you got us on your side.
The Islamic Circle of North America is here to help, as they have been for disasters here and across the country for decades.
Our first disaster relief mission was 9/11.
Saturday marks 20 years since that day. The organization says it's taken that time to get beyond feelings of prejudice towards the Muslim community, done in part through 20 years of helping people rebuild.
As Muslims and in the Muslim faith, we believe that we need to help our neighbors.
Doing just that here on the ground in the North Shore.
What divides us is far, far less than what unites us. And so we're here as a symbol of unity, as a symbol of hope, to tell the people of Louisiana that we stand arms in arms with you.
Helping people through Katrina 15 years ago, and now others experiencing their own personal Katrina today. In St. Tammany Parish, Colby Satterfield, Eyewitness News.
Oh, what a beautiful story there. And meanwhile, we're talking about the weather. It's got us all smiling around here. Will the lower humidity stick around for the weekend?
Chief Meteorologist Chris Franklin has your full weather expert forecast after the break.
It was a very pleasant day today and almost makes you forget that today is the peak of hurricane season because it doesn't feel like it outside right now. It's been dry. It's been comfortable. Temperatures, yes, they get warm into the mid, some near upper 80s, but that is still below the average of 89. We're currently at 84. Dew points low, 55 degrees at Kenner, and humidity is only at 37%. Today's high, 86 degrees, 3 degrees below the average. So it actually is cooler than normal. Look at our record high in the state, 101. It took a cold front and dry air to see our morning low actually get down to where it's supposed to be this time of year. But we were cooler than normal on the North Shore and areas away from the city. 67 at Belle Chase, 62 Slidell. Bogalusa was at 59 degrees. Over at Morgan City, 65, 61 at at Baton Rouge. And the clear skies and dry air once again overnight tonight will allow those temperatures to get on the cool side by early tomorrow morning. Mild at the moment in the 80s, but if you're going out this evening, it'd actually be pleasant. With the sun going down, it will start getting cool pretty quick, or at least mild pretty quick, we'll call it, but pleasant. Winds out of the northeast, but that is going to start to change direction, unfortunately. We'll start to see more of an easterly wind tomorrow, and then by Sunday, a southeasterly wind, meaning the winds are going to be coming back off of the Gulf, and so these dew points in the 50s and 60s will start to come up, but not before tomorrow morning. We'll be in the 60s and low 70s for our temperatures to begin the day, and afternoon highs tomorrow will be about the same as we were today, 86, 87 degrees or so. The dew points still low, that dry air hanging around for much of the day Saturday. By Saturday night and early Sunday, the humidity starts to return. But kind of looking ahead to the dew points going into even early next week, they kind of stay in the upper 60 to low 70 degree range. So it's not as though we're going to see a real surge of deep tropical moisture. We are going to see some tropical moisture headed our way, and that'll trigger a better chance for showers and thunderstorms, especially by Monday and Tuesday, because what we're looking at is a return to more of that Gulf moisture, the tropical moisture, but not enough that it looks like our dew points are just going to be skyrocketing. We're also going to be watching a better chance for rain, and we're going to be watching the western Gulf for the potential for some tropical development. We are still, as I mentioned, very much at the peak of hurricane season, and we're going to be keeping a close watch of a wave, which at the moment is not doing anything. But as I said, today is the climatological peak of hurricane season, September 10th. So while we start to see the number of storms decreasing, September into mid-October is still very much the heart of hurricane season. So we still have a ways to go, unfortunately. And the area that we've been keeping a close watch of at the moment is not doing anything. It's down near Belize. It's going to move across the Yucatan and eventually get into the Bay of Campeche and western Gulf. And at this point, we could see something try and form. And really, the only reason that the Hurricane Center is going with a higher % chance of development in the next 3 to 5 days is because most of our computer models are starting to find some kind of closed circulation at that point. Regardless of development, that feature looks like it's going to stay off to our east because of the pattern around this big upper high. Unfortunately, the moisture associated with that tropical wave is not going to avoid us. We're looking at that rainfall moving our way. So the only thing that we're really looking at coming our way, that low, whether or not it develops, looks like it'll stay more Mexico or Texas, but the moisture associated will be surging our way, with the bulk of it over Texas and maybe even southwest to south central Louisiana, where they could see some pockets of even more than 3 to 5 inches. It really looks like, just based on the latest forecast, maybe in excess of 3 inches on the higher amount, but really the rainfall total forecast is very fluid at this point with a system that is not yet even developed and may never develop, but something to watch. As far as our rain chances go, tomorrow will be the last dry day. Scattered showers on Sunday, wetter on Monday and Tuesday, and then we're back to scattered showers as we get toward Wednesday to next Friday.
All right, Chris, thanks so much. If you're looking for something to do with the family and get out of the house, the World War II Museum will reopen this Monday. Now, they said that with power restored and the site nearly cleaned up, they're ready to welcome visitors back again and to show their gratitude for all of the first responders, National Guard, electrical employees, and emergency personnel who will all receive free admission for the month of September. Good news there. They're also offering half off admission for all Louisiana residents until the end of October.
NBA champion Drew Holiday's wife, Lauren, and a few other former Pelicans are stepping up to help out the community. The holidays, along with Frank Jackson, Jaleel Okafor, and Langston and Sabrina Galloway, are giving away 200 generators, 200 gas cans, and gas cards to people throughout Southeast Louisiana. They partnered with Baton Rouge activist Gary Chambers Jr. to provide the resources to people in need. The supplies are expected to arrive sometime this weekend.
From WWL-TV, this is continuing coverage of the Hurricane Ida aftermath.
Good afternoon, and thank you for sticking with us in our continuing coverage of the Hurricane Ida recovery. I'm Karen Swenson.
And I'm Sharice Gibson. We want to start off with some of tonight's headlines. St. John is under a parish-wide boil water advisory. Now, this will continue until Entergy power is restored at the water plant. Tangipahoa has modified their parish-wide curfew starting tonight. It will now run from 11 p.m. to 5 a.m. until further notice. And Jefferson Parish schools updated when they are expected to reopen. They will do so based on a tiered schedule on when buildings are deemed safe. Now, starting on September 20th. We, of course, will have much more on this in just a few minutes. But for right now, it's pretty nice outside this evening.
Right? I feel like we're all having good hair, lower humidity, a moment of levity. Let's check in with Chief Meteorologist Chris Franklin. I shouldn't be talking about hair, but sometimes you just need to relax a little bit and take the silver linings where we can find them.
You bring up hair, then right before me, you discount hair altogether. I think my hair is looking fabulous today.
Yeah.
Are we going to go to, am I going to appear on camera? Look at this.
Oh my goodness.
What's going on
That's
right
what they call a widow's peak. It's a little off center.
I don't care for that.
I think it's close to a widow's peak.
Oh, shut up. Anybody see Drew Brees' hair last night?
Whoa!
I liked Drew Brees' hair, by the way.
I did too.
I thought it looked great. Just saying.
Okay, won't say anything.
He always looks great.
Thought I'd bring it up.
Oh, our producer chiming in too. Oh,
I don't want her to talk. Don't have the producer talk to me right now. I can't deal with it. Sunny skies outside, a very pretty evening, and as the sun goes down, these temperatures are going to start dropping pretty quick as well. We're still in the low, some mid-80s outside, but they'll be falling into the 70s and 60s by 10 o'clock tonight, and then overnight lows will be falling as well. 50-degree dew points across most of the area and low 60s, so it feels very nice, and we will get one more day of that good feel air for tomorrow. With the clear skies and low humidity, our temperatures overnight will be dropping into the low 70s, mainly in the city. If you're outside of the city, mid-upper 60s, and then on the North Shore, we will drop into the low 60s by wake-up time tomorrow morning. So once again, tomorrow morning, kind of a cool, comfortable start, very pleasant during the day on Saturday, but the moisture and the rain chances will return by Sunday, including a fairly wet couple of days Monday and Tuesday because of a tropical wave, which at the moment Hurricane Center is saying has a better chance of development. Don't worry too much about it. We'll talk about it in just a few minutes.
All right, thank you very much, Chris. Louisiana State Police will implement reforms after months of controversy and investigations into excessive force and withholding information by the troopers and the agency itself.
Well, Mike McDaniel reports from Baton Rouge outside State Police headquarters where those announcements were made.
The road to recovery for Grand Isle residents is just beginning. Every structure here suffered some sort of damage. You can see here down power lines tangled up with debris. A porch swing here to my right. Meanwhile, across the street, we also see some mattresses and some other debris. But really, the worst part of it is on the west end of the island, which is really difficult to get around because of all the sand, which the National Guard has been trying to clear.
Is that next? Okay, it looks like that was Maria Aguilera earlier, and we'll get to Mike McDaniel in a second. Actually, we'll go to Mike McDaniel now.
State Police as an agency has been intensely criticized recently for its handling of cases, specifically when it involves people of color. Today, Colonel Lamar Davis announced reforms, which he hopes will build better transparency and trust within the agency. Some of those changes include a ban on chokeholds and impact weapons to the head and neck. There will also be enhanced accountability for body-worn cameras and a mandated review of footage on a quarterly basis. This all comes after body cam video of that deadly arrest of Ronald Green in Monroe back in 2019 following a car chase. The video was only recently released, showing troopers stunning, punching, and dragging Green. Colonel Davis says for some reason that video was never submitted into evidence, and an internal investigation at LSP showed no intention of withholding it. Because of that video, though, an Associated Press investigation revealed other instances of alleged excessive force, body cameras turned off, and false information in reports. Colonel Davis says accountability will be top to bottom.
When any incident involves our own personnel, there may or may not be administrative or criminal violations related to that incident. But I need everyone to understand, regardless of that, you have my commitment that I am going to do everything possible to hold them accountable for their actions and for their behavior.
The ACLU of Louisiana is now asking the U.S. Department of Justice to launch a broader investigation into what the organization calls historical wrongs. The organization supports reforms at LSP, but says the state can't move forward until you right the wrongs of the past. Reporting from police headquarters in Baton Rouge, Mike McDaniel, Eyewitness News.
Well, many families are returning to their houses this week after evacuating before the storm almost 2 weeks ago. Heather Fontaine takes us inside one woman's home who says it wasn't just Ida that invaded her space.
Oh, careful for the glass. And it smells good, right?
Finding a way to laugh after the ceiling collapsed over Tammy Vicente's guest room and home office.
You can see my computer under there, my little workstation there.
But the damage inside her home isn't only from Hurricane Ida.
There used to be a big, big screen TV here, and there was another one small one in my bedroom. That are now missing.
Tammy evacuated to Florida the night before wind and rain from the storm hit her New Orleans East house. She didn't come back for over a week.
They broke the locks on the door.
She says looters also tried to take her washer and dryer, but weren't successful.
Here I am, a house full of food, a cupboard full of food that they could have took, and they took a TV instead. They could have used the food before it went bad.
Tammy has lived on Lakeview Court for 7 years.
This was like a painting on a canvas. Those little things that you won't be able to replace.
Through the broken glass, she's reminded of her neighbors, damaged too. Her street now lined with stuffed garbage cans.
So even though I'm in the middle of a mess, at least I'm home.
Though she says she's unsettled by those who felt the need to take after so much was already lost.
The safety and my own feeling secure, that's the part I need to build back up. And I think a nice big lock on my door, his security system will take care of that.
But amidst the flooding in her backyard, there's a sign of strength. A single bench marked with the fleur-de-lis, still standing under a nearly toppled fence.
Look at that, that's right there, NOLA strong. That little bench, that little fleur-de-lis bench is holding up that whole big fence.
Tammy is staying in a hotel until she can find some help to clean up the mess upstairs. A GoFundMe account has already been created. You can find that on our website, wwltv.com. In New Orleans East, I'm Heather Fontaine, Eyewitness News.
All right, as we mentioned, Jefferson Parish schools will reopen on a tiered schedule based on when each school building is deemed safe for students and employees. It's broken down into 3 tiers. The first includes 11 schools. Teachers and staff will head back on the 16th. Students will return on the 20th. Tier 2 has 20 schools with teachers and staff returning on the 22nd and students heading back on the 24th. And the last tier has 41 schools set to reopen. These are the schools that received the most damage from the storm and will require a lot of work to get them ready for staff and students. In Tier 3, teachers and staff will head back to schools on September 29th, and the students will go back October 1st. Now, all of this is to say there are some exceptions. Schools in Grand Isle and Lafitte are not included in these tiers because, quite honestly, they have such extensive damage. They're not sure when they're going to reopen. They will contact you individually if your kids are affected there. To see the full list of schools in each tier, just head to our website, wwltv.com. Meanwhile, schools in St. Charles Parish remain closed until further notice. As if Hurricane Ida weren't enough, we're still in the middle of a pandemic, making it a tough situation for parents whose kids are now learning at home. Right now, there are still plenty of homes, businesses, and schools in Destrehan that are still without power, but families there remain optimistic.
It's been hard, we've had so much, momentum or excitement going into this school year, hoping that this would be a really good school year for the kids, and then Ida hits and the kids are out of school, and they just told us indefinitely.
Well, this parent tells us it could be weeks before the lights return to their neighborhood.
Well, contractors in southeast Louisiana are backed up for months right now with tens of thousands of homes in need of repair. But there are some steps you should take to keep yourself from becoming a victim of any construction scams or fraud. Devin Bartolotta breaks it down.
The renovations and repairs have begun across Louisiana, but there's no need to get lost in a sea of blue tarps when looking for trustworthy workers.
Definitely look into references, talk to your neighbors, talk to your friends, family, use somebody that people know.
Robert's Family Allstate Insurance in Harahan took on its own damage in the storm, but the owner's cell phones have been ringing since landfall. They're giving homeowners some good advice for hiring contractors. Ask friends and neighbors for references. Get at least 3 bids for the work before you start. Be cautious of contractors going door to door or offers that seem too good to be true, and check the Better Business Bureau.
When you pick a contractor, verify their license and insurance. You can actually text the Louisiana State Licensing Board to make sure the contractor you're going to hire is legit.
Or you can look them up by name on the State Licensing Board website. If they're from out of state, look on that state's licensing board website and verify. When that's squared away, then comes the contract. Get everything in writing, including a description of the work and total cost, and keep a copy.
You want to save everything for your records and for the insurance records and even for FEMA.
Next, the Louisiana Attorney General's office says get pictures of everything. Your contractor's ID, credentials, vehicle, and business card.
Never pay in cash or pay in full right away. The Louisiana Attorney General says anything more than 25% down should be a red flag.
This may all seem like a big chore right now when there is so much going on, but it really may save you a lot of frustration and a lot of money in the long run. I'm Devin Bartolotta, Eyewitness News.
Well, if you believe that you have been scammed by a contractor, you can report them to the licensing board online. We have more resources and details on this story on our website.
All right, still to come at 6, businesses are working hard to get back open.
Yeah, the long battle business owners in St. John are facing before they can open their doors once again. Well, facing extensive damage in St. John the Baptist Parish, business owners are cleaning up some big messes as best they can. Many businesses were simply destroyed, while others have a lot of work ahead before they can reopen. Mike McDaniel takes us to LaPlace.
All this was gone.
TJ Kutab was inside his LaPlace restaurant the morning Hurricane Ida served up fury in St. John the Baptist Parish.
The wind itself, it was so strong. I never seen anything like that in my life.
That wind took off part of the roof, tore down a wall, and like everywhere else, left Petra Restaurant in the dark.
The ceiling almost caved on us here.
Kutab was here because he was cooking and serving food for first responders that weekend. As parts of his restaurant crumbled around him, some tables were untouched, napkins folded, like nothing happened. Most of the building, though, is in bad shape.
Everybody knows us in LaPlace. It's hard.
Driving down the street, power crews are working to get the lights turned on, but businesses are doing what they can in the meantime.
I literally wanted to cry.
At Southern Styles, new clothing inventory is still in boxes on the floor. A delivery that came right before Ida delivered a blow to the shopping center.
The water is all over, all the clothes and everything. It's totally damaged. Everything is damaged.
Thursday was the first day Amit Bulchandani was able to start cleaning inside his store.
We're taking out the carpet, moving, trying to gut the walls out and everything.
It'll be a while before all St. John businesses get back to business, which means many owners and employees are out of a job.
I'm out of income right now for the God knows for how long, but we had to fight through it.
A fight Bulchandani says he and other business owners in his shopping center are up for.
The grocery store is going to come back. We all coming back. Nobody's leaving from this.
Look at the mold that we have now.
That includes Kutab, who's now battling with insurance. He says most of that food for first responders spoiled and was told insurance wouldn't cover it.
Just had to take it one day at a time, rebuild, fix it back up, and get back in business.
All right, our hearts go out to all of them. In weather, will this lower humidity stick around for the weekend?
Now, Chief Meteorologist Chris Franklin has your full weather expert forecast after the break.
It was beautiful out today, still under sunny skies, but as the sun goes down, clear skies and low humid air will allow us to cool down. So just stepping out this evening, it'll feel very nice. 84 is our current temperature with a dew point of 55. Humidity is only at 37% and winds northeast at 8 miles an hour. Today's high only topped out at 86 degrees, and that was under bright all-day sunshine. Not often does that happen in early September. If we see highs staying in the 80s, it's usually because of rain or clouds, and that was not the case today. Look at our record high on this date is 101. So we actually stayed 3 degrees below our average high. And morning lows, with the exception of Kenner, were for the most part below average as well. 59 degrees was our morning start at Bogalusa. Low 60s in the on the North Shore, 67 Belle Chase, 70 Homa, 65 over in Morgan City. And we will likely see similar temperatures by wake-up time tomorrow morning as we are under clear skies outside at the moment, and we have that low humid air still in place. So these 80s will be dropping after 7, 8 o'clock. They'll be quickly falling, and it'll be comfortable. I'm not going to call it cool in the evening, but cool for some folks on the North Shore by early tomorrow morning, and winds out of the northeast. So we still have winds coming off of the land, meaning the Gulf moisture has been cut off for now, as winds tomorrow will be more easterly, and then by Sunday southeasterly, starting to bring back that Gulf humidity. Dew points are still in the 50s and low 60s, and again, that coupled with the clear skies will allow for a cool night, and morning lows will be in the 60s, low 70s by the start of the day on Saturday. And that dry air will be with us through most of the day Saturday. By Saturday night, and as we get into early Sunday though, you'll start to feel the difference, as notice the winds are coming back off of the Gulf, and our humidity will be slowly on the rise. rise and humidity will stay on the higher side, at least for this time of year. Dew points actually in the upper 60s and low 70s through next week is not too bad, despite the fact that we are going to see kind of a surge of tropical moisture and more rain headed our way by early next week. Frontal boundary is going to be dissipating as that surge of moisture comes our way with some scattered showers as we get into Sunday, and by Sunday into early Monday and Tuesday, or into Monday and Tuesday. We're also going to be keeping an eye to the western Gulf because models are starting to pick up on something trying to form, whether it's a depression or a storm is yet to be seen. But for us, less humid through Saturday. Sunday, we'll start to see some scattered storms, and then we'll be watching that wave. But at the moment, it does not look like it is going to be a threat for us. We are, as of today, although it didn't feel like it, the climatological peak of hurricane season. September 10th is the peak, which means the frequency starts to decrease after that. But as you can see from the graph here, all through the rest of September and really through mid-October is still very much the heart of the season, and this season is above normal. So we're expecting more activity, and we may see some of that activity develop in the western Gulf of Mexico by the end of the weekend and start of next week. Hurricane Center now has a 70% chance of development in the western Gulf. Now again, what that may be is still yet to be seen. Really, regardless of development, it still looks like this low, again, that may be a depression or a storm, will be moving into either Mexico or Texas. Either way, we're going to see a surge of tropical moisture head our way and increased rain chances for Monday and Tuesday. And really the reason why it looks like this system should stay more to the west is because the flow around this upper ridge should keep anything that tries to develop, I should say, along the coast of Mexico or Texas and not move our way. But doesn't look like we're going to be able to avoid that surge of tropical moisture coming our way from that system. However, it looks like the greatest rainfall accumulations will be more to our west, but there is the possibility of some of those high totals reaching even parts of southwest and south central Louisiana. So something that they may have to watch for. For us, though, for a couple of days, if we see in excess of 3 inches of rainfall, we can handle that. But unfortunately, the timing of the rebuilding recovery, it'd be nice if we could have a bit more of a stretch of the dry weather, which unfortunately looks like it'll come to an end after tomorrow. Scattered showers on Sunday, fairly wet Monday and Tuesday, and then Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday, we're back to our pop-up showers and thunderstorms.
The Saints placed 2 players on injured reserve Friday. Wideout Traquan Smith and cornerback Ken Crawley will miss at least the first 3 weeks of the season with hamstring injuries. And Crawley, the loss, that hurts the Saints the most. They're thin at corner going into Sunday's game against Aaron Rodgers and the Packers. Help is on the way, but not until next week. The Saints finalized a trade for Texans cornerback Bradley Roby. The former first-round pick is with the team in Fort Worth, but he's not allowed at practice since he's serving a suspension for Week 1. Sean Payton says they are still in constant communication with Roby. The Saints will have to quickly get him up to speed once he's able to join the team in a full capacity. This is nothing new for Payton and company.
Even when the season gets started, it's not unusual for an injury to take place and maybe a player that has to come in and then very quickly has to get acclimated and be ready to play. A player who has good football instincts and a good football IQ, obviously that transition is smoother, but it's happened before at other positions. You know, it's a little bit of the nature of our league relative to the roster size.
I mentioned the Saints are thin at corner, but good news on the final injury report as Marshawn Lattimore returned to full participation at practice on Friday after being limited Thursday with a knee injury. He does not have a game designation for Sunday. Starting left tackle Teron Armstead also appeared on Friday's injury report, missing practice with a back ailment, but he also does not have a game designation. He is expected to play against the Packers, and that may be the strong spot for the Saints with that offensive line being at full strength. 3:25 kickoff in Jacksonville between the Saints and Packers. Karen, Charisse.
All right, thanks very much. And thank you for joining us for our special coverage of the aftermath and ongoing recovery from Hurricane Ida.
Well, we have much more coming up tonight at 10. Until then, have a great night.